This is Changemakers with Katie Gore, finding the right solutions for the affordable housing community.
Today's changemaker is Ashley Northcutt, the president and CEO of the National Women's Affordable Housing Network, where she leads efforts to support and elevate women in the affordable housing industry through education, advocacy, and professional development. A former tax partner with over 15 years of experience in real estate and housing finance, Ashley made the leap from public accounting to focus on driving meaningful change in the affordable housing industry. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Katie. Thank you so much for having us in WAHN. We're excited to spend some more time with you.
It is a pleasure to have you here, and the timing of this is absolutely perfect. And I want to get to this initiative that you're doing. It is really picking up steam, but I don't want to lead with the absolute most exciting thing that I think that you're doing, but there's so many other things. So I want to try to figure out how to transition into this. First, for people who don't know about the Women's Affordable Housing Network, let's start real basic. And why don't you just describe that?
Yeah. I would say the Women's Affordable Housing Network it's hard to explain because it's one of a kind. But I do think it's a place where people feel comfortable. I think it's a place where people are surrounded by realness, where you can show up and be yourself and you're celebrated because we all have the common mission of helping solve the affordable housing crisis. So when you have that key line that attaches you, you're able to show up focused on that. And sometimes some of those facades you wear fade away because you have that focus. I think it's a very problem-solving driven environment. So we bring a lot of thought to the table about challenges and what's happening. And then that is followed by a lot of problem solving by bringing people from all across the industry together.
I sometimes describe it to people as being a master's class in affordable housing because we have such a wide variety of people in this industry and they're at different points in their continuum. But what your organization is doing is you're hosting the master's class,
Yes.
right? You're letting people come in, dial in where they are to learn what they need.
I like the summary of it. It is a master's class. It's bringing people across the industry and whatever continuum there are. So opening college campus chapters to invite people in earlier, not having membership dues so that everyone's invited to networking. Because Quadell graciously sponsors five scholarships at WAHN Summit that allows 5 people that otherwise might not be able to go. And we all know WAHN is creating that room that some of us were left out before. So whether that was a golf course or a meeting that you weren't in, and you pick up little things about the industry or deals or people's names, right? And so bringing all of that together across any age, we even, Katie, they call themselves vintage, but we have our vintage members coming out of retirement to be part of WAHN, which is, it's just amazing to connect women all across anyone that's ever touched the industry together.
Yeah. I think of when I first started in the industry, I did a lot of things wrong, learned a lot of things the wrong way, which there is value to learn lessons the hard way, but we could go much farther, faster if we had that right onboarding, if we didn't have to learn everything the hard way. So I like what you guys are doing. I like the platform because you're allowing us to get to the mission faster to help affordable housing go farther. Tell me more about this college campus because we've seen a lot of statistics about people coming into the industry and how hard it is to get people in the door in this career. So, describe what you're doing on campuses.
Sure. So we're opening the college campuses, and National is hosting virtual programming. So we have a syllabus, everything from, hey, listen to Katie Gore's podcast about this because this is a great thing for you to hear about, to teaching professional development, technical training, and encouraging networking. So they're doing in-person events at campus. A lot of those entail inviting our local chapter with local professionals in and hosting a panel about what do you do in affordable housing, right? Because most of it, there's a job for everyone in affordable housing, right, Katie?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Yep.
anyone considering any career, we have it for you in affordable housing, and you can marry your mission to your work. So
Yes.
we kind of explain, what does this look like? Start making introductions. We get introduced to a lot of college students that are like, I just got my master's in public policy and I'm looking for a job and I don't know where to start. Things like that. So then working the power of the network, like, here's a rock star in your area who has a job, and it works out 9 times out of 10.
hmm I used to teach at a university, and I loved hearing what people wanted to do with their degree, but the labor market has changed. I mean, what you have the degree for, there's sometimes the ramp, there's like a disconnect. And do you find in our TikTok generation, it is harder to access that talent? Or what are you seeing on the campuses now?
Yeah, I do think, whether it's because they're virtual a lot of times now, so there's not the same connection. I don't know when you went through school, but at my college, we had a recruiting platform that came to our college, and that was in accounting, right? So we're trying to kind of develop that in the affordable housing industry, because I do think there's a disconnect. Everyone's getting great degrees, but people aren't out on campuses as much. And when they are, maybe the student's not on campus because there's so much virtual learning now. It's kind of like we've heard even in the workplace, when we first started, you had HR stopping by your desk, you had leaders in your office stopping by, just
Yep.
casual conversation, but you were picking up. And that's missing when we have more virtual work from home. So
hmm
I do think you're right. I think connecting the dots, we're actually building out a platform right now to help a lot with job placement and matchmaking, because that's one thing we do a really good job at. We have ears on the ground everywhere. We know who's hiring. We know
hmm
who's looking for a job, and so starting to build that out, because it goes back to similar for colleges. How do you connect the dots? The pool's there and the jobs are there, but how do we
Right.
introduce them?
hmm So, how did you first get started with your career in affordable housing, or what was your journey like when you were coming in?
Thank goodness I came to affordable housing. So I didn't even know what affordable housing was. I was an accountant, right? So I was at PricewaterhouseCoopers, but here's a big plug for keeping in touch with anyone that's ever met me, or Katie, you're very similar. I know how to talk, right? To people. I make connections. I keep up with those people. I'm the one that will send a random text like, I just saw this and thought of you. I haven't talked to you in 5 years. Like, that does not stop me. So kept in touch with the recruiters, and Debbie Dancy with Cohn Resnick at the time in Charlotte reached out and said, "Are you overworked and underpaid?" And I tell everyone
Oh,
the answer to that
wow.
is always yes. And I was looking for a change. I didn't even know if I wanted to do accounting. Went into Cohn Resnick, and the industry changed my life. I still to this day don't know how I stayed in public accounting for 18 years, but knowing the work I was doing, the projects I was learning about, and honestly, Katie, the people, like my clients that I met, the people I got to work with, they are driven to solve this crisis, right? And
Yeah.
so I couldn't imagine my life anywhere else after that, except I am very happy it no longer includes daily accounting.
Some people talk about stumbling into this industry. A lot of people, I know several people who were just like, I just needed a job.
Yeah.
And they just were like, I'll take anything. I was one of them. I was like graduating with my master's, and I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I just need a job.
But I'm a hard worker.
And yeah, and I would like, just get me in,
Yeah.
and had I looked at the job description, I would have been like, yeah, I don't know any of this. Um,
Exactly.
but, today, the market's just a little different, and labor's different, and people graduating is a little different, and what we offer is that mission attachment, which is so beautiful because it's beyond just, interpreting a spreadsheet. It's beyond just marketing a product. Like, there is true mission value, and I think a lot of, people graduating, they say that. They say they wanna belong to something and
Yes.
do something. So, you've got this great, great way to connect people with something bigger than themselves. Do you hear that resonating with people as they're looking? Like, what are
Oh,
they saying?
absolutely. Also, affordable housing is one of those industries. First of all, every day you're going to learn something, right? Like, none of us know it all. I still hear about some and I'm like, what? I've never done that. Honestly, I've never been to a ribbon cutting because I did accounting. So I know it's on my It's on my goals this year, but
Oh,
when
I'm
you're in
writing this down. I'm
write that down and
absolutely
bring
writing
me.
this down. We are gonna
Please send
get
me an
you
invite.
there. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Because, depending on what job you're doing, you're doing other things. I've done property tours. I've gone out to many client offices and I sat at my desk and did my work,
Yeah,
right? And saw many planes. Um, but I think marrying mission to work is key. I think knowing it's a challenge. People coming out of school are easily, what is the word? The attention span is very different.
mhm,
They want
mhm.
to jump. They want to learn something new. They want to be busy. They want to
Yeah,
find value, right?
yeah,
Also, I think something really cool in affordable housing is no one looks down on, I did this. I
yep,
want to try this. I want to learn about this. So I want to do asset management. I
yeah,
want to roll over to property management. I want to do some analysis. Then I'm going to go work for a syndicator, right? So, and then you have the full picture of affordable housing and no one looks down on that. Like that's an okay thing to say when you're
right.
changing jobs in affordable housing.
Right. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about people coming in, but a lot also of your strength is the membership who you have in your roster. And it's from everything: finance, development, operations. Speak to your membership and the value of being connected, even as 30 years in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. So 5 minutes before we started filming today, I was on a panel. I was not part of it. I was watching one of Apria was doing a
Yeah.
making sense of the financial statements. I have so many texts that are like, I never learned this before. So what really just rang true to me was, as an accountant, you go through certain types of training. As a different developer, you're learning certain things, right? You're learning all the modeling and everything. If we're not talking to each other and sharing that knowledge, the same problems that have existed for the last 30 years are going to continue, or they're going to be longer than they need to. So
Yeah.
one of the coolest things at WAHN is we're autonomous. We have everyone from high level government professionals to brand new nonprofits starting their company to the largest developers in affordable housing to banks.
Mhm.
And that's just an example, right? There's so many, everybody that touches affordable housing. And the goal is the more conversation we have, and I will tell you, women have a power of communicating. We have a power of collaboration. When we get together and start talking, things start happening. And so that's been one of the most fun things, but having everyone in the room at the same time we have a panel at Summit and it's going to be phenomenal to watch, but the property managers, for instance, are saying, bring us in when you start planning the deal. Why? We can stop a lot of things that are happening. So even closing
Yeah.
gaps that close.
Wow. Let's talk about Summit because I mentioned it briefly in the beginning, but this is a signature moment. But obviously, it's more than just that week. But I do want to give you a chance to describe it because it's coming up here, and I want to make sure that we are maximizing what's happening. So tell us more about the summit.
All right, Katie. Well, thank you for this opportunity. And I have to thank Quadell again. You all are coming out to teach a training. You provided 5 scholarships. You're hosting the people that won the scholarships for dinner. That is a key piece, though, because a lot of people that are coming may be their first conference. It may be
Yeah.
the first time they're speaking or
Right.
being a moderator, because one thing we do is we shine the spotlight on women. So we don't care what your title is. If you're a
Hmm.
hard worker trying to change, if you're doing great things, we're putting the spotlight on you. And so we're here to support you in success for that. So how Summit starts, the first one ever was last year and we sold out at 350 people. So the need is there. We have the people that want to come and continue to do this every year, which is exciting. One of the best parts is when we reach out for speakers, 9 times out of 10 right off the bat, it's yes, I will absolutely be there. I'm changing my schedule for this, right? Or I cannot do it this year. Can I come next year, please? And
Right.
so it's just very exciting to feel that energy. So we start off Sunday. We did a lot of polls. We always get a lot of input from the whole industry.
Mhm.
A lot of women want to wake up on Monday with nothing to do, right? They want to wake up in a hotel room alone with nothing to do and sleep till 8 o'clock, right? So we start on Sunday, and that's an optional day. It's a separate ticket sales to make it accessible to as many people as possible. It's wellness, community service, and networking. Um, we end that night. We have a small group dinner, so anyone that wants company for dinner doesn't feel like they're left out. And then we
Mhm.
round out the night. This time it's with drink and dessert pairing, so that'll be fun. And then we wake up Monday and there's options to do. Now, the reason we did this, we start half day Monday. So anyone that doesn't want to leave on the weekend can fly in that morning and you don't have to feel
Right.
like you have to be there Sunday.
Right. Right.
So we have 3 types of training that morning. We have HOTMA, we have Housing Choice Voucher, and we have, Novogradux 101 level. Um, if somebody doesn't need or feel like they want training at this point, we have the option to go to Red Rocks, and we're doing yoga out there and touring that beautiful property if you haven't been. That's close to selling out. And then we're also doing a property tour at the same time that's also sold out because we were only able to bring so many people, but the Rose Mercy Housing Project. So all that's happening Monday morning, tons of networking. Then we kick off at 11:30. We have a huge announcement to make that we can't wait. We're sharing our first ever annual report, which is
Excellent.
reporting out on the 36 chapters across the country and what they're doing. And it brings me chills even to say it because I've seen it and it's amazing. And then it's like a regular conference, except not. Everyone keeps telling me we've never seen the breadth of detail that you guys are covering. And that's because we get a lot of feedback from members,
Mhm.
from leaders in the industry to figure out what are the hot topics that are not being taught every single place, or what twist can we bring. And we've asked most of our panelists first to talk about how is the current administration impacting your role,
Mhm.
and also leaving everyone with a takeaway. What's something we can do? And
Mhm.
then we will round that out with a brunch celebration of awards. We have a new award this year honoring Lori Little for a Lifetime Achievement
Oh,
Award.
nice.
And we will name our wonderful woman and ally of the year.
Excellent. And this is such a moment for solution making, networking, all of this. But you do it more than just at this summit. You're doing it all year long. So you have a great platform to convey message on LinkedIn. You're doing so much more engagement. I really am impressed with how you're getting stakeholders and policymakers together. What are the realities? Like you said that there's going to be a forum by which people can talk about, what is the current trend, what's the need, is the impact happening? Can you give us a glimpse on how you're engaging stakeholders and policymakers and what that's looking like?
Yeah. So we have a lot of open communications. We like I said, I'll continue to say we do a lot of polls and got a lot of feedback from our sponsors, the needs that they have. We work closely with industry leaders in DC who you all know well, Emily Kotick, Jennifer Schwartz, Sarah Brundage. So we're kind of keeping a pulse. We also work really closely with nonprofit leaders around the country. So we hosted our first ever retreat. And the idea there is how do we bring all these great ideas and initiatives to life without duplicating, right?
Right.
Without creating different branches of the same thing, because that dilutes the message. And we're
Hmm.
all getting across the same message, right? But
Hmm.
when you do it as one voice, it's more powerful than hearing little bits of it everywhere.
Right. Right.
So, working together with other nonprofit leaders, like I said, national leaders across the country, and then we're actually working on sharing administrative costs right now, which is huge
Okay.
because if we can all cut down on that
Right.
and support each other's initiatives, we can get their needs out. And then there's plenty of needs, right? So no one's going to run out
Hmm.
of anything they need to do for their mission.
Yeah. If you had a magic wand, what would, no pun intended there. But if you had a magic wand, is there a specific initiative or policy that you would like to see put forward, changed? What do you think?
Always, I go to changing the story. So, who lives in affordable housing? Why do we need affordable housing? That is my magic wand. If you could just tell the stories of the families, and
Yep.
if we could almost, I say this a lot, I feel like maybe we should all have to go on a mission trip when we're younger to understand how lucky we are in the United States of
Yes.
America. But the same, even in the United States of America, have you ever been homeless or lived in affordable housing,
Yes.
or not known if you weren't going to have a house? And
Yeah.
until you walk those shoes,
Right.
you might not be able to identify, right? And so I think changing that story, hearing the stories of the people and how a home changes a life, it changes
Mhm.
multiple lives for generations.
Mhm. Sunny Shaw, she talks about, when she was growing up, what it was like to, see the notice that the utilities were getting cut off. And she's a former podcast guest of mine, and people don't realize what happens because then it starts the trickle of housing insecurity. And where that surfaces in your daily life as a child, and then what you're doing as an adult. And that lack of security, that lack of safety, has a lot of ramifications. You're hitting on something that we need to remember who, not just why do you need it? Okay. So who, and then when stability comes into the life, now what? Now what are you able to do and achieve and go to the same school? And there's so many other things that can now, okay, I have an address, I can get my prescriptions. Like there's just like when you can stabilize that moment in a person's life, that launch pad looks different.
Yeah.
And I think that we talk about like criteria and we talk about all of these other things, which are important, okay? But if you don't have that launch pad and you don't have that foundation, how can you get to these other things? And I want to hear more about what you think that understanding who needs it, not why they need it, okay, but who needs it and what they're able to accomplish. How does one then translate that into what you're doing?
Yeah. So Katie, you brought up a story in my memory that I have to share. So there's two. So I've heard some of your story. I have yet to listen to your podcast. I'm like, dang, I have to go listen to your TED Talks is what it is. So I'm gonna do that. It's just been busy this year right now.
That's
Um,
okay. You're speaking to it. It's like you know what the TED Talk was about because
I do know what it was.
yeah, it's
I just
like
haven't gotten the chance to listen to the full thing.
oh, it has sit and grab some popcorn, so it's going to be interesting when you
Yes. And my life was very different from that. I have a very stable upbringing with a very secure family, things like that. So when my eyes were open, I'll tell too brief. I was at PricewaterhouseCoopers and they hosted a poverty simulation. I would do anything to have that all the time.
yeah.
For everyone to experience because I just remember giving these cards and my husband went to jail. Like we had money and then our money went away and then I got a card that my husband was in jail. So then we lost all his work, his money. And I had children on these cards. This was not in real life yet. And every every day was like something brand new. And one thing that really struck me was the day I got my paycheck, then I had to pay to get on a bus with my kids to go cash my paycheck. Ashley Northcutt's paycheck at PricewaterhouseCoopers in Cone Resnick directly deposited into my account. Think
Mhm.
about the chaos. Think about the added last minute expense. Think about the lack of time, like not having time to even breathe when you're running, 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 right?
Yeah.
The other thing was I did a lot with junior achievement in Charlotte. And I went into the class one day and I asked everyone, what are you guys dressing up for Halloween? And this little boy broke down in tears and he said,
Mm.
I can't go trick or treating. I'm not allowed to. And also, we can't afford costumes. Thankfully, my PricewaterhouseCoopers team at the time, we bought costumes for the entire class. But that was a aha
Wow.
moment of
Mhm.
how different that is. So when you ask, what is WAHN doing to bring the stability? What are we doing? Bringing awareness to this, bringing the change makers, speaking to your podcast, together so that we can start to tell this story a different way. We can make
Yeah.
sure more and more people are aware of who is living in this. And then when
Mhm.
it is stable housing, how does that change? When you then have fresh food and access to a refrigerator where it can be and a hot shower and think
Mhm.
about the difference of someone like me who grew up, I never had to worry about like basic necessities, right? And life is already sometimes challenging. How do
Yeah.
you add that and then expect someone to show up at school paying attention or show up to work doing
Right.
their best job?
Right. And when I worked in at a housing authority, we had a lot of statistics that showed that the majority were single mothers with two kids. You were breaking the idea of right? And a single mother with two kids, still with a job, struggling to pay rent,
Yes.
and the implications of the lost potential of that mother and the lost potential of her kids if she is constantly having to struggle with where to live, how
Yeah.
to pay. There are no extras, right?
No.
And so, we think as a society, it doesn't matter why she's a single mom. It doesn't matter why she, is working the 2 jobs she's having to work. But look at the lost potential of what she can do and what her kids can do if they were stable.
Right. Well, and
Yeah.
we talk about mental health so much, and like with all heavy workloads in a mission driven industry, and everyone says, okay, well, make sure you take care of yourself, make sure you take a walk, make sure you read a book, make sure you listen to your podcast. But some people don't have the time. They don't have the time because life is chaos, just
Yeah.
keeping a house or
Yeah.
finding a house.
Right. And when you're in constant survival, you're not thinking about, oh, let me try to thrive
Right.
where I
No, there's no
am.
thriving, there's
Yeah.
surviving, right?
Right, right. So let's talk about some women that inspire you because you have access to hear all the good stories, all the great people. Who are some women that are inspiring you right now? What paths, what lessons are you learning in this role and with what one is doing?
I always have to say my mom. My mom's a very strong woman. She taught me early on to stand up for myself. Even one time I babysat, a bunch of neighbors brought their kids over. They paid me as if I was babysitting one family. I was embarrassed at times. She put a note in every one of their mailboxes that they owed more money. So little things like that, but she doesn't take anything from anybody.
Yeah.
Um, Tiara Harris out of LaGrange, Georgia, is someone
Okay.
that I have to speak about. She has comes from a challenging background, has been supporting herself since she was 17 years old, and had to learn how to use both government programs and finding jobs and making connections to thrive. She's
Hmm.
changing the entire landscape of LaGrange, Georgia right now through her nonprofit called Communities of Tomorrow, where
Wow.
she's transforming her neighborhood where she grew up by building luxury affordable, is what she calls it. So it might be
Oh.
smaller, but the houses are unbelievable. And her drive and passion, when I met her, she came up to me and took a picture, and then she sent it to me on LinkedIn. And immediately I was like, that's pretty cool, right? And so we are good friends now for like 5 years, but she has a way of connecting. She knows um she what is how do I say this? Her drive and passion, she's going to stop at nothing to make this accomplished. And so they're building a project in her old neighborhood that is going to be a lot like Ponce City Market in Atlanta, which has
Oh.
stores, and they have a pickleball court now. And this is a place where people didn't even walk before, even a year and a half ago when I went to tour it, when it was just coming alive, and now it's like a thriving area. So she is probably my biggest inspiration right now.
Awesome. It reminds me, I just watched the movie. I think it's like Take Me to the Moon or something. It's with Scarlett Johansson.
Okay.
And she was a marketing person that uh, got hired. I'm not sure if it's real or not, actually. But she
We'll
was a
learn later.
right. We'll learn later. But she was a marketing person, ended up for NASA when they were taking the person trying to get to the moon.
Oh,
And, but then you learn why she was so good at marketing was because of her personal life when she was growing up, what her mom made her do, et cetera, et cetera. But many of us have lived through these challenges. And I find it fascinating to hear, to say, okay, this was really bad at this point in my life. And yet now I'm using it as my superpower
yeah.
and I'm using it for good to advance other things. So you've got a great, great network of women who are doing exactly that.
Yo, yeah, for sure. And I like to tell them everyone's got fire in their belly in this industry, but certain people, the temperature's hotter,
Yeah.
right? And they're not
Yeah.
gonna not do what they're doing. They will figure out
Right.
a way.
Right. Talk to me about the podcast that you do. And specifically, I want to hear about this one of my favorites. I'm asking for a friend. That is genius what you guys are doing. So, just give us that overview of the podcast and then specifically touch on that for me.
Sure. So the Woncast is just highlighting women making huge impacts in the industry. And so people are referred to us, we meet people, we find people. It is it's a very uplifting lifting thing to listen to. The new series that you're talking about, Asking for a Friend, I have to give full credit to Millie and Angie. I think Angie dreamed this up and Millie named it, so that was
Okay.
tag team. Um, But that actually spawned from something I was talking about earlier. Like somebody said to us, it was actually Caitlin Kratz at Scenair, that because we don't get those little touches in the office if we're working from home more, or because we change jobs, it's not like you go work somewhere for 20 years anymore, right? So you might
Right.
not be lucky enough, like I had Debbie Dancy in my life. You might not be lucky enough to have that person, guiding you through your career or helping you with difficult choices. So also we've learned, because some of that I think is virtual, but sometimes people don't trust HR at their own company because they don't know whose side they're on, or sometimes there's a gray area. So this is a way to ask any question you want. We keep it totally anonymous, and we have a team. It depends, 6 to 10 HR professionals that answer those questions. And if the question goes outside of just HR, we go and look for other industry experts, and just, it's totally anonymous. We send them the question, they provide feedback, and then Millie and Angie get on and talk through what the advice was. So it's really cool.
I have never seen this done in a network forum like this, nationwide. I
Yeah.
mean, you are hitting nationwide issues. This is very, very innovative. It's such a great tool. I I um I think of it something like, the pioneering moment for us right now. It's like, oh, why wasn't this done? All
Yes.
the tools were in place. Yeah, why wasn't this done?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, leave it to women getting together talking, and you're going to get something to be done, right? Here we
Yes,
go.
yes. Also, she speaks. What are you doing in that world?
That's really cool. So we just noticed over time it's getting a lot better, but at a lot of conferences, if you have a technical expert, especially, it's a male. If you look at a panel makeup, it's often disproportionately male. So we decided to help the whole industry, or anybody else that wants a speaker on affordable housing, to create a directory where you can go and you can pick female speakers from across the country, and their expertise is on there. If they can pay for travel is on there. The areas they cover is on there. We
Yeah.
get a lot of outreach from industry conferences and more, people that do like real estate conferences asking for suggestions on women speakers. And so that is just us putting the light to the world, that here's who we're shining the light on in that. And anyone can sign up for that. So anyone that feels ready to be a speaker, go on there and sign up, and you'll be there, and people will be in touch to try and have you speak on that topic.
Yeah. And I would add, I just wrote about this on LinkedIn a couple of days ago. I was on the Yardy speaking panel.
Okay.
And instead of just talking about, like, oh, we talked about, HOTMA, we talked about, all the technical, I call them alphabet soups. Um,
That's a good one.
I actually wrote about the fact that I have not been comfortable in front of the microphone. So you don't need to have it all together to be able to get into the she speaks. You don't have it all together to say I've spoke, like I've been at 15 conferences, da 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 da. Right? Like there is a prompting of just do it.
Yeah.
There's some tips and some tools that can make you better prepared. But I was saying, like, don't wait until you think you're ready.
Yeah, it's similar to WAHN too. When you say go do it, we're here to support you. So I can't tell you how many people reach out and say, I'm on a panel for the first time. Can we talk? It might not just be to me, somebody at WAHN. We just had a moderator do that. We help develop agendas for we'll do whatever we can to support you to shine when you
Yeah.
get up there. And Katie, it goes back to the overall WAHN concept of more perspectives are better, right?
Mhm.
So we've all heard some of the same speakers for years. And so when
Mhm.
you hear a fresh speaker, like someone that you haven't heard before, and their new ideas,
Yeah.
it's invigorating and it's refreshing. And so we want more people to come forward and speak. And we're
Right.
all just human. Like,
Yeah.
you can't mess up that bad. You're smart.
Yeah. Do you know, before I took the stage on the TED stage in New York City, I was like, "What in the world have I gotten myself into? What am I
So
doing?"
glad you did.
Yeah, I mean, 0 experience. It's not like I've done a TEDx talk, like 0 experience here, okay? But you learn something about yourself. You learn something about the message that you want to convey. And, there is a piece that you're resonating with the audience because you have something to say about your story. And I had people come up afterward in that audience and say, I'm going to look at affordable housing differently now. And it's like, thank you. That was worth the sweat.
Yeah, that was worth all my nerves. No, well,
Yes.
I'm so glad you did that because I was gonna say that's the impact you've heard about. But think about all the people that are hearing this for the first time. We're in the affordable
Yeah.
housing industry, so
Yeah.
we know there's a lot of people that don't know a whole lot about this industry. And
Yeah.
like the impact you just had and all the ripples for who knows how long.
Right. And that's why I encourage this She Speaks series because, you've got to get somebody in there to tell their story. You've got to get in somebody in there who is like, I've never done this before, but I have a story I think needs told, or I have a skill set that I can share, or I have a solution that I want to help and bring to the table. So, I mean, you guys are doing great with us. Just
Well, and
all the
thank you.
applause.
I mean, you bring a lot of great ideas together from all across. And again, it goes back to the variety of ideas, the variety of careers
Yeah.
involved, the variety of experiences people have had. But no, thank you so much. And we really like She Speaks as well.
Talk to me about your vision for the next what do you vision plan? Are you in a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year? What do you if there was an unlimited eh, checkbook, if there was an unlimited obstacle-free zone, what does your vision look like?
Yeah. So the WAHN vision, yeah, we're 3, 5, and 10 years at this point because we have so many great ideas. We have to keep okay, we've already committed for 2027. We're um
Yeah.
I think the number one priorities would be to continue the education of college students and people that are not in college yet. So taking this to high school, taking it to residents in affordable housing communities, so that we can explain to them too the jobs that are out there for them as well, and how to get training for that and help with that to bring them into their career. Um, a developers we want to do a fund for developers to help with pre-dev costs because what we continue to hear from women, they don't have the balance
Oh,
sheet to do the deals.
okay.
So how do we do
Yeah.
that? So you
Yeah.
say unlimited checkbook, we would love some checks. We have some great developers that we want to help support build more communities around the country.
Mhm.
um Continuing technical training, so we're doing a lot in this space right now and we're going to continue because I think what we've realized is when it is predominantly women on a call or in a room, people are more comfortable asking questions. And so the
Mm.
chats with the questions in a technical will blow up. And sometimes they start with like, this might be dumb or this is a basic question. You don't even have to start with that. Like, we are here to support you learning whatever you need about affordable housing.
Yeah.
So continuing to build that out. And then of course the job placement aspect.
Mhm.
We think there's a whole lot of value in that for the industry, both bringing in brand new talent, even people in retirement that want to do part-time consulting or advisory, that those are gold nuggets. So
Mhm.
just connecting all the dots, but those would be the longest term goals we have right now.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. I remember you had me on a technical training for a one series, and I do remember the chat. It was like hundreds of people asking questions, and I was shocked about the amount of engagement. And
Yes.
so that signals to you, hey, we need to open up more doors for
That's
that
right.
technical training. Yeah.
That's right.
And not everybody, the conference is great, but now we all can get into that technical training in a different forum when people can dial in and do all of these things. So it's more accessible. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ashley, have I missed anything? What would you like to lead us out here on? Give us a great moment here to kind of wrap up.
Katie, thank you so much for inviting us. I know you have a lot going on your plate all the time. You guys are out there doing great things at Quadell, so we appreciate the invite and highlighting Summit. I would say what I always go back to: say yes. So all these trainings that are out there for you, all these conferences that you're able to attend, getting invited to a podcast, getting invited to speak, or putting your name on the She Speaks directory, just say
Yep.
yes. You don't know who you're going to meet.
Exactly. All right. Well, I feel inspired. So I thank you for your time. You are doing a great job, and I encourage our listeners to explore their state chapters. I encourage them to follow you guys on LinkedIn and get engaged, attend a training or an event, right?
That's exactly right. Thanks, Kay. They're always fun too.
Oh my gosh, we're so creative too. Like it really does speak to something inside you because it's blending that creativity with that technical advancement. So, thank you for your leadership, Ashley.
Thank you, Katie, so much. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to Changemakers with Katie Gore. To find out more about Katie, go to quadel.com. That's QUADEL.com. This has been a production of Forbes Books Radio.